Welcome in, everybody. Special Thursday night makeup show for not doing a show last night. Sorry I missed the Wednesday hump day chat last night. I apologize. Man, I was a couple of things, couple of factors there. Number one, I was really tired. Number two, really tired. Didn't sleep much the first couple nights of the week. Number two, I'm a dad. And my daughter said last night, I want to watch Groundhog's Day. Well, Bill Murray, which was a movie my wife told her about recently. So that's what we did. And hey, I was going to watch a movie with my daughter last night. So that on top of being really tired and just really not feeling it. Apologize for that. That's not a good excuse, right? I know if you're going to be a professional, you got to do it regardless how you're feeling. But those two factors last night meant no hump day chat last night, instead a Thursday night show tonight. Let's get to the business. We got some stuff to talk about. I got some ideas and thoughts on some things that have been happening. Give you some quick updates on a few Packer notes as minicamp going on this week and just kind of wrapping up. There's a lot of good info out there. Lots of people talking about daily minicamp thing. Guys do this daily. Tom Grassi, he has some fun. Andy Herman does his pack a day stuff. You can even get your things from Cheesehead TV a little bit, just fine. But, again, just remember that Nagler has a severe bias towards Rodgers and stuff whenever he talks about it. Kind of like Ben, but, whatever, that's fine. Ben wasn't always like that, but he's become like that more and more. So if you get tired of it, sorry, but Ben's going to say his opinion, and that's fine. We all have opinions. That's okay. All right. I'm going to get to a couple of interesting things here. One, a couple of quick notes. See, Jordan Love talked yesterday to the media. It's a relatively uneventful press conference. He said a couple of interesting things. He had the same answer for a lot of stuff, just talking about getting better, talking about working day by day, doing his best, progressing, all that stuff. And then he did say, I got asked about Aaron Rodgers a little bit, and he did say that he talked to him a week before he came to Green Bay. So that was, and he just said, hey, I was talking to a guy I know. We had a good relationship. It was unexpected to him that Rodgers wasn't going to be there, but he, they just talked. And there's been multiple accounts how Rodgers was helpful to Love, helping him, coach him, do all this sort of good stuff. Giving him pointers, doing the stuff that Favre did not do for him. And now it's turned into this messy situation. But I think there's a culprit. And somebody mentioned this on our show a few weeks ago. There was a different culprit than everybody's been talking about. And I think he is the culprit, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. All right. But Jordan Love talked. It was a good interview. Seems like a nice kid. Hope he does well as a Packers quarterback. Again, I told you a couple weeks ago that Aaron Rodgers, even though people have said, oh, he hasn't said anything and he hasn't done this and come out and said he wanted to be traded and whatever, he did specifically tell all of us a couple of weeks ago that he's done playing for the Packers. He's not going to be playing for this organization anymore. It was an amazing, I can't remember the exact word he used, amazing, great, wonderful, whatever it was, 16 years. He made that quick statement in what he said when he was talking to Kenny Mayne, and that was your definitive statement. He's not coming back. I don't care what all the people are saying. I don't care that there's all this money on the table. I don't care that you have to, if the Packers are going to be firm in their stance, which doesn't make sense to me, if that he's just not going to sit out and not play football this year. If that's what they want to do, I believe he will do that. He's not going to play for the Packers again. And it's not, the bad part is it's not about the Packers. It's not about the players. It's not about the coaches. It's not about the team itself. It's about the front office. And more so about a different member of the front office than everyone's been talking about, because everyone tried to make it about the draft pick. And the draft pick didn't help of Jordan Love, but that's not the main issue here. As time goes on, we hear more and more about that, and that's clearer and clearer. But you did hear, if you listen to sports talk and you listen to watch ESPN and you watch all these people prognosticate and all this sort of stuff, man, they just hammered on, this is about Jordan Love draft pick. You drafted Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers is mad and petty, and he's not going to play. And even Ben saying things similar to that. He's taking his ball and going home. Not exactly that, but that's not what this is about. It's really not. That prompted to Aaron Rodgers, that told him the Packers want to move on from you. But the draft pick of Jordan Love is not why he's upset. It's not why he doesn't want to be a part of this organization anymore. And that's an interesting thing, right? It's like, you talk about organizations, and I know a lot of people made fun of what Aaron Rodgers said, talking about people, and it's about the people. And then they try to say that he's, in saying it's about the people, he's just talking about himself. And I don't think he was. I really don't. And Ben will refute me, and other people, and Chris Sims and Mike Florio, will say that's code for just him talking to himself. I don't buy it either. And I'll give you an example. I detailed a bunch of guys the Packers moved on from, got rid of, that were all kind of body blows to Rodgers and the relationship. All guys that he highly respected, knew were good football players, knew he could trust and count on, all that sort of stuff. And the Packers cast them aside when they still had some good football left in them. A number of them, they did not even offer a contract to, didn't even try to see how low of a contract they might accept. They just didn't even offer him anything. So there's one factor. But in the process of all of that, those guys were all people, and they were all good people too. And that was another thing Aaron Rodgers said in the Kenny Mayne thing, which just was quick, where he talked about he's gotten to play with a lot of amazing people. And I do think it's a lot more about the way a lot of people have been treated, and not just him. And I understand the people come on here and like, that's business. It's business. You can't take it personal. Okay. But if you don't think these guys put their heart and soul into this stuff, and their time, their energy, and everything else, and I get they get paid handsomely, no doubt. They get paid handsomely. Great. And that should be enough. Some people will say that money should be enough motivation. That should take away all any issues, right? The money, you cover it. But in reality, throwing money at a problem doesn't fix it. Money will motivate people, most of us, for a period of time. And then that period of time will only last so long. And then if there were other issues or other problems, or there's other things going on, those things will resurface, even if the money kind of covered it up for a while. In the sense of football, it's okay, if you have a winning season or really great success, you're having a lot of fun, that can cover up some of the issues for a while. But those things will come back. No matter how much money you throw at it, no matter how much money you give somebody and say that amount of money should motivate them, money is ultimately not the best motivator for the majority of people in this world. It does motivate some. Maybe that's some people, that's all they think about. But a lot of us, it's life and what we're doing and our job and our commitment to it and our engagement with it and everything else. But the longer you're there, you see more and more and more of how some of the operation is, and how that operation, either some companies really value people and others don't value people. And the people are what make organizations go, right? An organization on its own, yes, maybe has a mission, maybe has, an identity, but it doesn't have its character. The character comes from the people that do the work or that participate or that are assembled to accomplish something for that organization or business. And that's really what I think has happened here for the Packers and for Aaron Rodgers. So when he says he loves his teammates, he loves his coaches, he loves the fan base, I think he means that. I don't think he's just placating. I don't think he's trying to not be the bad guy or lower the burden on himself or the abuse he'll take from the fan base for doing what he's doing. I think he means it. But I think the issues have become more and more visible in terms of who is actually kind of behind what the conflict is. Now, one thing is, hey, mom, yeah, Sternberger suspended for 2 games due to substance abuse. Okay, well, hey, 3rd round pick, tight end, 4th on the depth chart. We're not worried about him. Another wasted pick, but that's neither here nor there. One quick thing, though, as I finish this point, I know I've kind of circled around a bit on it. Sorry about that. I was trying to get my thoughts together, but I didn't have time. But the whole point here is we've seen Mark Murphy write something now publicly, acknowledging how this is dividing the fan base. We've seen and heard from Mark Murphy in a few other ways that have been interesting over the last handful of years. I'll dig into that in just a second. But there one person that sheds some really good light on this, some good questions, raised some good points and some good things to question for yourself as a Packers fan. If you're on one side, either you're solidly with the Packers or you're solidly with Rodgers or you're somewhere in the middle, regardless of where you're at, these are some good questions brought up by Andrew Brandt. He was in the Packers front office for 10 years. A while ago, he was there when the Favre when Rodgers was drafted. He was there through that transition. Now he works for Sports Illustrated, but he was in the Packers front office and he had inner workings of how it all went and how things went down. And one thing he said that was really, I think, spot on was that this is not about, and he reemphasized, this is not about the draft pick. This is not about this one thing. He said what the issue is there's been a breach of Rodgers' trust with the front office. And with that breach, that's why he doesn't want to come back and be involved anymore, because he can't trust the guys. Now, a couple of things that were out there, right, which were also covered in a article here on CBS NFL coverage. But they detailed some number of things, kind of going off of James Jones' recent interview with some of the stuff he said. And, Rodgers, James Jones talked about how he's seen a lot of guys walk out the door. He's seen, quality guys, like I said. But he said his number one beef with the Packers is a private conversation he couldn't tell anybody. Well, what could that possibly be? Let's speculate for a minute, because everybody likes to speculate these days. If you recall, Mark Murphy, right? Brian Gutekunst was not the GM when a lot of these guys that I mentioned were cut. A lot of these guys were not even given a contract. A lot of these guys were just released or let go. Mark Murphy has been there the whole time, though. Okay. And then if you recall, Mark Murphy said, reportedly, Tyler Dunn's Bleacher Report, the big whole drama with McCarthy and negative things about McCarthy and Rodgers and all that went down. He reportedly said to Aaron Rodgers, after they hired Matt LaFleur, he contacted Rodgers. There was a phone call. And Mark Murphy said that, we're hiring this new coach. This is reportedly from, this article by Tyler Dunn that everybody knows about. and said, this is going to be the new coach. You need to work with him and be coachable and all this stuff. And then said, quote to Aaron Rodgers based on this article, don't be the problem. And then somehow that private conversation got to Tyler Dunne somehow. And if you're Aaron Rodgers and that was said to you, first of all, it'd make you pretty annoyed and upset, I would anticipate, especially if you thought you weren't the problem before. But the team president is telling you that in a private conversation. Now, you know that you did not tell others that was said to you, correct? Why would you? There would be no situation where you would. And so that information on a two-way phone call, Mark Murphy and Aaron Rodgers, that only leaves one other person who said that and allowed that information to get out into this report. And that's Mark Murphy. Now, if you, as an individual, with your boss, had a private conversation, maybe there's a disagreement, maybe there was something happening at work, and you were sitting there and you were like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with this criticism, but I am going to move on and make the best of the situation. But you knew it was just you and that boss involved in that conversation where that was potentially said, allegedly reported, said, based on the Tyler Dunne report. Then that appears in some other area where everyone else finds out about it. Maybe it's a newsletter for your company or email, whatever. You didn't put that out there. There's only one other person in the conversation. They put it out. Would you trust that person anymore? Would you trust them to work with you? Would you trust anything they say? And this is the leader of everything for the organization, especially with the new structure. Matt LaFleur reports to him. Brian Gutekunst reports to him. Mark Murphy at the top being reported to. He is the top of the pyramid. Hey, Bernard. Skip says Love will take Packers to the playoffs. I don't think Love will, but the Packers might get there if they figure out how to play a good enough defense under this new coordinator and if they run the heck out of the ball. But I have some concerns about that too with their O-line choices and depending on who they keep in cut. But to finish this thing on Murphy is so you had that incident. Then you had him write this thing that got out there that kind of stoked a little bit of it, but also made Aaron Rodgers, you're dividing the fan base. We're trying to do everything we can to make it right. And Aaron Rodgers is dividing the fan base. The other reported thing that, if it's true, would have, again, caused you to, as the person who in this case is Aaron Rodgers, to also not have any trust for the people in charge, was that it was reported that the Packers were told Aaron Rodgers they would trade him this offseason. They would trade him. And so he was, because he knew when they made the draft pick, he knew everything else that they were going to move on to Jordan Love. And the Packers wanted to play this game. We've heard about this before, where they could have Rodgers as a stand-in year-by-year guy. If he played great, they keep him on the team. If he didn't play great, they're moving on to Love. And so if the Packers told him they were going to trade him and then publicly came out and said, we're not trading Aaron Rodgers, to dismiss the 49ers, dismiss everybody that was interested at the time, at the draft time, would that also breach your trust? So, in conclusion, with some speculation, but also some, if reporting is true, And if you believe Rodgers was the problem, Mark Murphy said that to him. Aaron Rodgers didn't put that out publicly. Somebody else did. That's Mark Murphy or his camp. He probably has a camp. Then I kind of think Mark Murphy, when he said, don't be the problem, should have been looking in the mirror. Remember, he's also the hothead that had to fire McCarthy after one game, the Arizona game, not let him finish the season. I get the guy you weren't going to have him your coach anymore at the end of after the season. I get all that, but he had been your damn coach for 13 years. And after one bad performance there, that was the last straw. You couldn't let him finish out and take into account that, hey, you've given a lot to us, and yes, we pay you well, but you've been a dedicated employee for a very long time, and we're going to at least let you kind of close the season out before we move on. Yeah. Anyway, some stuff to think about. All right. Can't take the Rodgers hate anymore. Leave him alone. I agree, Bernard. And I think all this hate should be directed at Mark Murphy. That's where the fans' anger should go. We can be upset about Goody for some of his signings, but I really think Murphy is the cog here that's stirring all the craziness that's gone on in the last handful of years. Double Doink, how you doing? He says, let's see. Love had one good pre-training camp practice, so we're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that, but the team has some potential, right? I mean, seriously, they do. They have some potential, but they also have some major holes. Yes, Bernard, Packers fans can be ungrateful. Some of them. Just remember that all of them are not. Well, Ben, I did claim that he didn't say that because why would he? But now the more and more I'm understanding, I would believe it. I would believe that Mark Murphy, has the ego to say that, and also has the power because he put himself. We restructured. Head coach will report to me. The GM will report to me. I am the top of the pyramid, Mark Murphy. But I guess Ben loves Mark Murphy. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Hopefully he doesn't, but that's what I'm going to take from that, Ben. I didn't say for sure he said it. I'm just saying reported. Tyler Dunn's report. So don't try to get me thrown off. I've been thrown off enough already. Okay, that's enough on Mark Murphy. Anyway, if you're interested, you really should direct your frustration at that guy. And I believe that his words didn't match his actions sometimes. I also believed he tried to cover up some of his bad actions and some of his bad words. Now by changing his tune to go to Rodgers. But if you're Rodgers, if some of that stuff went down, why the heck would you ever trust him? Why would you? How could you? How could you? And why would you? Right. Was the Rodgers-McCarthy relationship as bad as it was leaked? I don't know. I think they certainly had their issues and frustrations, but I do think they had a deep connection and they actually cared about each other as people, as human beings, whether they had differences about the offense and things like that, which we saw. But I do think Aaron Rodgers cared about McCarthy. He said it publicly too. And I think their relationship was such. Perhaps that was another straw. Perhaps that was another thing that upset Rodgers, the way McCarthy was dismissed by one guy, Mark Murphy. So anyway. Oh, Ben. Okay, I can't ignore his comment. I believed he said it because Rodgers was the problem and is still the problem. Okay, that's fine, Ben. Maybe somebody else is the problem, though. is the problem. I did want to go and watch Andrew Brandt's interviews that he did. Did one on Rich Eisen. Very insightful stuff. Very, very good information, insightful stuff, and really showing you for all the people that spent days and hours and weeks going on and on. Oh, this is Aaron Rodgers' reaction to the Jordan Love pick. No, it's not. This is Aaron Rodgers taking a stand for himself because the Packers front office burned him enough times, broke his trust, and you break his trust, you're done. That's how most of us live our lives, though. Why would we trust someone again who's burned us multiple occasions, and in this case, publicly as well, in a very public format? All right. Also, some other good interviews this week to check out on Packers Notes. Rashawn Gary talked today. He's Bane Gary. He's got that going for himself. All these young guys, they're so funny because they have their brands figured out, well before they get to the NFL, or once they jump in, they're like ready to start with more brand stuff, and they do their own thing, and that's great. So check out Rashawn Gary's interview. I did not watch Zadarius Smith, but he talked too. And then another interesting one from the other day was, Billy Turner. Yeah, Billy Turner spoke. And I am telling you, go watch Billy Turner's interview. Billy Turner is an awesome guy. Billy Turner is a cool dude. I like him as a person. I just don't like him as a player. But he's an awesome guy. So again, what I'll tell you is these are my speculations about why Billy Turner gets to play all the time. Number one, he's an awesome dude. Packers like awesome guys, or so they say. I think they do. Over any other franchise in the NFL, I think they care more about the character of a person than any other team. Sometimes that's to their own detriment, but sometimes it's really cool as a fan, right, to have a bunch of good guys you can root for. Okay. Number two is he knows. He's a smart guy. So he knows. I'm sure if they ask him, what do you do at left tackle on this play? What do you do at right tackle? What do you do at guard? What do you do at guard? What do you do at center? I'm sure he gives them all the right answers because he is a smart guy. Number three, I'm sure he looks great in shorts and a t-shirt, or even in practice when they're not going full speed because they don't want injuries and stuff, right? So even like the blocking, the rushing, they don't go full at it, not like game speed and all that. So I'm sure he holds up well. I'm sure he does great. But when you get him in the games against good competition, great competition, and sometimes even average competition, he gets exposed as a player. But you should watch his interview. He's an awesome dude. He's fighting for social justice. He is bringing awareness to issues. He speaks on it. He's got great hair. He is a cool guy. He just should not be playing for the Packers as a starting offensive lineman. And he shouldn't be getting paid as much as he gets paid. That was one interesting thing. I went off about Lucas Patrick last week. I was upset because he's been undervalued and dismissed by the Packers, by a bunch of media people, by other fans too. And Ben doesn't like Favre. We know that. But anyway, the whole thing with some people's arguments about why the Packers might cut Lucas Patrick this year is he's older. Well, he's 27. He's older, but he is older than the fresh guys they just brought in the last 2 years, of course. And he's cheaper, or the other guys are cheaper. Like they could save some money. Well, Lucas Patrick isn't even going to make $2 million this year. Billy Turner's making $8 million, 4 times that. You cut him, you save a lot more money than cutting Lucas Patrick. And I get you think he can play tackle for you, but he really can't. So even the numbers don't add up there. But it's just amazing how when you hear people talk about the offensive line, whenever they talk offensive line, they're like, well, you've got Elton Jenkins and you've got Billy Turner, and you've got, like, they name him like second or third. Like, you've got him. He's a guy. He's a starter. He's one of your guys. For people that evaluate the Packers really closely, that watch every play, that go to minicamp and training camp and have access to practice, and then sit here and go through and grade every play and all of that, I don't understand what they see with Billy Turner. I don't get it. I am not an offensive line coach. I am not a person that gets to even have access to all the practices and all that stuff. But I am not an idiot. And I'm definitely not an idiot when it comes to evaluating offensive line play. It's not that hard, really, right? I don't need an offensive lineman that dominates people from the snap, from the jump. I don't need an offensive lineman that just locks them up on pass protection like Bakhtiari does. Bakhtiari's great at that. I just want a guy who sticks with his guy, who stays in front of people, who gets a block on every play. He has an opportunity to get a block. He does it. I want a guy who gives effort. But more than that, I want a guy who engages with the defensive guy and sticks with him, because that's how big plays happen. If you've ever played football and you're a blocker on a play, whether you're a receiver, whether you're a tight end, whether you're offensive line, whatever you are, it doesn't matter the position. You go to engage with the guy you're supposed to block. If you stay engaged with that guy, that's when the running back breaks a big run, or that's when a quick pass can turn into a big play. But if you just go to hit the guy quick and then, he bounces off you or gets around you or whatever, or even the guys some guys I played with too would go for the big shot right away and I'm going to go lay a big lick on him. And you know what they do is they'd hit him for a second, bounce off. And then if they didn't blow that guy up, knock him down, guess what? That guy's got a quick access to the tackle, quick access to blow up the play. So for me, you don't need to heavily attack and blow people out of the water. You got to be physical at times, but you got to be a guy who sticks on your guy. And most of that comes through effort and technique and footwork. And Billy Turner lacks all of those things on the football field, even for as awesome as a guy as he is. And go watch his interview from this week. He is awesome. I like him as a person. Just don't like him as a Packers tackle. Josh George, Favre, I'm in town to play the Dolphins. Oh, okay. I don't quite get that one, but I haven't been following too closely either. And then I'll just say this in closing, because I was made to seem like I was too emotional about the Lucas Patrick thing. And I was, I think that's what Andy Herman, the day after I wrote comments about the words he said, the way he devalued Lucas Patrick. And it wasn't just that one day. He had repeatedly in other videos referred to Lucas Patrick in the terms I said on Friday night. And I'll say it much more calmly. He called him fine. He called him, his nicest term was solid, but then he immediately downplayed that by saying he's a nice depth piece, or he did say really nice depth piece at one point. And that's fine. Those are all words, and that's his evaluation. But then when I questioned it, because then he also used words about Billy Turner. He used words about Corey Linsley, which we saw a lot of bad video of on Friday night in the NFC Championship game, as stellar. He said his stellar career. He put Corey Linsley in with David Bakhtiari and said Bakhtiari and Linsley in their stellar careers. That's what he said. Linsley is not stellar. He has never been stellar. Anyway, that's the word he used. And then the other part was when he talked about Billy Turner, he said he had a fantastic year. He used glowing words about Billy Turner. And I was just like, what is he looking at? And that was really my question. I really want to know, because Andy Herman, I think he's a very level-headed guy. I like what he does. He's trying to be informative. He doesn't get emotional and go over the top like Ben and I do sometimes, which is good. You need people like that too. You need us sometimes. You need people like that too. But I really wanted to know what he was looking at and what he was considering. Well, then the very next day on his Pack a Day podcast, he addressed this. I didn't mean to upset him, but he addressed it for quite some time about how he got in trouble about not saying nice enough words about Lucas Patrick. And he said how he really likes him and, all this sort of stuff. But even in that, he never said that he said he wouldn't get rid of him. He just said he was trying to predict what the Packers would do. But he also kind of downplayed the terms he used to describe Lucas Patrick. In the words he used, though, about Billy Turner, he also pointed out that he graded Lucas Patrick higher because he grades every play, every game. He graded Lucas Patrick higher in 2020 than he did Billy Turner or Rick Wagner, which he should have. That I agree with. That grade I agree with. Yes. But then his words he used when talking about those players didn't match his grades. So that's what I was wondering. I don't know what his grades were. I didn't know that he graded him higher than those guys because based on his words, he said glowing words about Billy Turner and assumed him as a starter. And you got him as like second or third guy he mentions. And then Lucas Patrick was an afterthought, fine, really nice depth piece. So what does that tell you? Words have meaning. The words you say have meaning in the dictionary. What you say has a specific meaning, whatever word you choose to use. I don't know. Drove me up a wall. Still kind of bugs me. And I wasn't saying or fighting for Lucas Patrick because of that, because I love Lucas Patrick. It's because that's also my honest evaluation of what I see when I watch those guys play. One guy is certainly better and more important than another guy who plays all the time. I don't get it. Show me video or tell me comments how I'm wrong if you think so. All right, let's talk about quarterbacks. You guys want to talk about quarterbacks? Favre quote. Oh, yeah, Favre quotes. Yeah. Sorry, something about Mary. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. If love stinks, Jay Giles band style, do you start Bortles or give Benkert the chance? Now, it's going to be Bortles, man. The Packers are too geared up with a lot of veterans and a lot of money and a lot of guys this year. Sorry, I get back on track and off my solo Lucas Patrick and Billy Turner stuff. I know people don't like offensive line as much as I do, most of them, but I love to talk offensive line. But anyway, it's going to be Bortles because, if Love has any issues, they're going to go for the safer choice because you reinvested in Aaron Jones, you still got Z, you still got all this money in those guys. You got Jair, you got what you hope is going to be a good defense. If Joe Barry can figure out how to use all the guys right and incorporate the right mentality for them and bring some more physicality to the way they play and effort to the way they play, which he's trying with all the energy he brings. And all guys talk about that, his energy that he brings to the defense. But the other thing is, you got Aaron Jones in the running game to lean on, Dillon, the running game to lean on. So you don't need Bortles to be, if it ends up being Bortles, you don't need him to be a rock star. You need him to do some play action passes, run the ball a lot, not make dumb mistakes, which he has done at times in his career. But if you give him clear objectives about what he needs to do and what he shouldn't be doing, hopefully he follows those objectives and you're good to go. Do I think Love is the next A-Rod? No, I don't. But Jordan Love could be good, and that's great. I hope he is good. Look, guys, no matter what you think of the situation or how much you want to bag on Rodgers or how much you hate the people that are bagging on Rodgers, or whether you're like me and you really should turn some of your frustration to Mark Murphy and realize that he might have been the problem the whole time. I want Jordan Love to be good. And the other thing that you should want is for Aaron Rodgers to get an opportunity to play football, to continue to play football. It's not going to be for the Packers. He's told us that. I told you guys that a couple of weeks ago. Aaron Rodgers told us that. Some people missed it. I didn't. He's done. And it's not about the players. It's not about the coaches. It's not about the Packers like we think of the Packers, the football team. It's about the top of the organization, the way it's run. That's what it's about. And that's okay. I hope the Packers let him move on, get some compensation for him, please. And then let him continue to play football. He deserves that at least. And the Packers deserve most of the Packers fans. I'll say this: the Packers players, the Packers coaches, and the majority of the Packers fans deserve for Jordan Love to be good. And even Gutekunst. I'll give Gutekunst a little bit of a break here. Because I'm thinking he was more influenced by Murphy than I originally thought. And because he has drafted pretty well during his time. I don't think he's signed the right guys in free agency, and I don't think he's managed the team as a general manager as well as he probably should have. But he is pretty good at drafting and evaluating talent for the draft. I will give him that. And we didn't hear any Gutekunst quotes publicly about him cutting down Rodgers or saying crappy stuff to him or whatever. We just heard about Murphy stuff. So I'd give Gutekunst that, give him some credit there. But I do think, that this is done, guys. So for anybody that's, I know there's a whole bunch of financial reasons that people think Rodgers will come back. I know Devontae Adams is there. There's other lures to bring him back to the team. I get it. It's not going to happen. He's told us he's done. So that's it. So I want Jordan Love to be successful. I want him to look good. I expect him to struggle, definitely at times, but I also expect him to flash some talent and be productive at times, especially with a good run game. I'm telling you right now, the choices they make on the offensive line, I know you guys don't want to talk about offensive line again. Sorry. But the choices the Packers make on the offensive line will be a bigger impact to Jordan Love's success or him not having success if he has to play. Because if they keep putting Billy Turner out there, who doesn't block anybody most of the time, and they think, oh, well, we can save a little money and get rid of Lucas Patrick and we'll throw some other kid in there. And they think, oh, well, Jenkins is this rock star. They called him, Stenovich called him, even though he's not, we prefer him to be a guard, he's a great tackle. Well, I want to do a play-by-play on Jenkins really to look at his play. He's certainly not as consistent and as glowing as they talk about him. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. But he's not a superstar offensive lineman, and he misses plenty of plays and plenty of blocks too. And he gets beat and he gets pushed around sometimes, and most guys do, and that's fine. That's football. But like McCarthy used to say, that's football. But the point about Jenkins is everyone has just anointed him to be, he's the greatest thing ever. Oh my God. No, he's not. So you put these couple of things together. I'm just going to lay it out for you real quick. This could be the bad scenario. All right. The Packers make the wrong choices on offensive line. They have poor run blocking at times, which slows down the run game. So the run game is not as effective. And then Jordan Love doesn't have the same pocket awareness that Aaron Rodgers does. So, which you wouldn't expect him to. He hasn't played, 16, 15 years, 12 years in the NFL. And he just gets annihilated and sacked a bunch and is running for his life. And that's a real scenario. I will say this, for the upcoming season, if Rodgers is not there, it's going to hinge on the offensive line and the defense. The Packers' success will be predicated on the play of the offensive line and the defense. Straight up. Even though they have Aaron Jones, even though they have Dylan, those guys need somewhere to run. They're going to need some blocking. And Jordan Love sure as heck is going to need blocking. I know he's a good athlete, but he's not going to be used to guys screaming off the edge and doing, coming at him that quick and trying to think about the play and the progression. His first year, just think about it. If you were a first year guy and you had all that and you got a bunch of heat coming on you pretty much as soon as you snap the ball, that's where it could be ugly. So it's up to the Packers now. Are they going to pick the right guys on the offensive line to be starting and to be on the team? And are they going to find a way to get the most out of all this money and all these picks they've invested in the defense? Those are what carry them this year. All right. Double Doink, anything else before we go? That's what happens when you have it too good, too long. The Packers fans, Packers fans, sorry, they've gotten a little bit spoiled for sure. For sure. Those are my thoughts, guys. If you hate him, great. If you like him, great. It's just my thoughts. But check out Andrew Brandt's interviews. Watch Billy Turner's interview. Jordan Love's interview if you didn't see it. And also Rashawn Gary's from today. Peace out. Stay well. Be good. Catch you tomorrow night with Ben.